Guys? Good gang, peeps, Padawans of the inner sanctum. Welcome. Come on in, sit, stay, relax, put your feet up, grab a snack or two, um, drink a cold beverage or hot beverage if you want, your prerogative, and enjoy. Hopefully, what I'll share with you today is my thoughts, insights on season 3 of Cobra Kai. And I'm not doing a reaction video, so I'm just gonna be just giving my overall thoughts on the entire season. And I'm just gonna give the key points, not go over every little thing when it comes to each episode. Now, before we get into this, do me a favor, hit that little Yoda icon on the right hand corner of my channel video, to be exact, and hit that notification button. Hit that bell in order to be alerted to any posts when it comes concerning videos being posted on my channel. Also, hit like if you enjoyed um, any of my videos, including this one concerning the season 3 of Cobra Kai, and also subscribe for those who are actually out of curiosity clicking on this video on what I'm all about and my thoughts on season 3 of Cobra Kai, as I mentioned earlier. Be a subscriber. Well, actually, to my subscribers, I tip my hat to you, but to those who are watching for the very first time, hopefully you have the gumption or the being would like to be a subscriber and be a member of the Guru Gang peeps and Padawans of the Inner Sanctum. There could be a shirt, that could be merchandise. Who knows? I'm just flying by the seat of my pants out on this one. So let's get on with it, shall we? Episode 1, Aftermath. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm just going to go through the key points or point in all this. And the key point in Aftermath is Miguel. Miguel's struggle to fight, to wake up from a coma. And we know he woke up from the promo, but I'm thinking here, in a sense, go with me on this, that the opponent he was facing while in his coma state was death itself. And him imagining himself in his karate gi in some kind of tournament style place within his own mind, and he's facing death. And it's one of the toughest or the toughest opponent he'll be facing against. And in order to wake up, he has to defeat death. And early on in the episode, you see that it's the death, or I'm believing it's death, is just too much for him, and that the skills and the power and the strength are just are overwhelming, and he's getting beat down, beat physically and mentally and possibly emotionally within his own mind and heart, and it's a struggle for him. But but as his fight continues on, he hears the voice of Johnny, his sensei, and that gives him enough determination to, after his words of encouragement from Johnny, who, by the way, beats himself up in the bathroom in a liar Jim Carrey way, beating himself up by hitting his head on the paper towel dispenser, which is probably a nod to Liar itself. And and because of his words of encouragement, uh, Miguel is triumphant against death, and at the end of the episode, Miguel wakes up. So that, for me, is the key point to episode 1, Aftermath. Now, episode 2 is Nature versus Nurture. Like I mentioned before, I'm just doing key points here, and that is Kreese's backstory. We get to know the man behind the mentality, the psychopathic mentality of John Kreese, and his initial introduction. And it's a bit of a misdirection as the show focuses on who you think it's John Kreese, just riding in on what looks to be Miyagi's classic car, with a girl on his arm and his best friend at his side heading to the diner. But then we find out that Therese is actually the busboy who gets embarrassed and bullied by the football player. And then that he tries to, in talking with the female, become friendly, but the boyfriend hates it. And then he ends up beating both of them up after to the point where the girl and John end up together. And this would lead to John Kreese in present day, where to weed out the weak ones, he basically forces one of the students to to feed a mouse that he names and force feeds it to a snake, and because he refuses, basically cleans house of the ones that raise their hands in not wanting to have the mouse be eaten by the snake. So he's weeding out considered the weak students from out of Cobra Kai. So that's pretty much how he's going to go about um, uh, keeping the strong, who he considers the strong students. One of them being Hawk, who ends up at the start of this, who initially will have a start to experience conflict, and throughout the whole season, he'll end up being conflicted with emotionally and mentally when it comes to his role in Cobra Kai, his friendship with Dimitri, and all that stuff that will ultimately have him ultimately choosing a side by the end of the season. So, oh, and go from there to John Kreese, and we go through there, and even though this is a John Kreese eccentric episode, in my opinion, there are two signs of conflict at the start of during this episode where I mentioned before it's Hawks experiencing conflict as he progresses along. This also includes Tori, but her conflict will be brief to the point where because so there's so much anger in her with juvie, and then her family situation with, like I mentioned before, her mom dealing taking care of her little brother and her mom, and then John Kreese makes his presence known in order to recruit her into Cobra Kai. Uses that snake-like mentality to slither his way into her life and into her mind actually, and use a part of his life to in a way connect with her, and that's the opening he gets when he opens back up um, to have her um, eventually join Cobra Kai, to where she becomes um, the a potential leader or leader of the students instead of Hawk. But that's as it progresses along throughout the episode. That's how I view it, and as and in Tori's arc of going to the dark side, or there is a bit of an emotional roller coaster with her, but it's but the influence John Kreese has is inevitably turning her using that anger to her advantage, and sees that anger, John Kreese does, as a weapon, and she'll muster up all that anger into one that where she'll just use it into a psychopathic mentality, and we'll see that in episode 10, and or throughout the episode really, but majorly in episode 10. So yeah, that's episode 2 of the key points. Moving on to episode 3, I honestly believe that episode 3 was just a filler episode for what everybody was anticipating for episode 4 and 5, because when it comes to episode 4, it truly doesn't needed 2 episodes going back to Okinawa, as we saw in the promo, because of Chosen and Kumiko. So it couldn't contain it all in one episode, and then we actually enjoyed that episode 4 and 5 was just basically a nostalgia kick for every one of us who grew up watching. For those of a certain age. Anyways, going back to episode 3, the key point to this is Daniel's family business, car business that he runs with his wife and cousin, is not doing so well to the point that it's going to tank. So much so that Tom Cole steps in, walks in boldly and arrogantly to buy their business, the car business. And initially, the Russos refuse because they believe that they can get through this. But according to one of their employees, former employees who went to work for their rival Tom Cole, he shares with Daniel's cousin that Da- Diona, the company that Daniel is associated with, is because of the bad press of the school fight. Um, Tom Cole signed an exclusive deal with Diona and convinced the manufacturers that to cut ties with the Russos. So it's going to be that news right there, a major concern for Daniel, to the point where he starts reminiscing in order to make sense of it and why he started selling cars in the first place. And the reason he started selling cars in sales, and he pushed him to do it. And his idea and what he said to him has stuck with him to this day, to where his wife actually repeated to him on that sales floor. No, because he's probably heard it so many times she can repeat it herself. That I may butcher it, but I wrote it down. It says, Mr. Miyagi told him, and must follow passion. A man who works for passion always richer than a man who works for riches, and that stuck with him. And that's something to strive for or always adhere to when it comes to working for passion instead of working for money. And that's the mentality that Daniel basically instilled when it comes to selling cars. And that's the total opposite of what Tom Cole is doing. He's working for riches instead of passion. That's why he's such an arrogant prick, especially to a former employee that used to work for Daniel. So by the end of this episode, uh, Daniel flies to or Okinawa or Japan, and in order to dissuade Diona, the representatives, corporate representatives, to not cut ties with him. So that's episode 3. Now, episode 4 was one big, giant, huge nostalgia trip, and that couldn't be contained in just one episode because, as we saw in the promos, we saw Kumiko and Chosen. So that right there shows how much of an impact it has for us when two of Daniel's vital characters show up when he needs them the most, and that starts with just basically Daniel just arriving in Tomi Village, and things have certainly changed from that small little rustic village where in Okinawa to now a where it's like a shopping mall, bustling shopping mall with people just going to and fro. And even spoke to a lady where she hilariously or in a funny way mentioned that now they had a Subway. Now they have a Jersey Mike's, which in a way excited her. So you can tell how things have certainly progressed and changed in those 30 years that Daniel's been gone. And afterwards, he starts hearing music and starts to be on and it sets the path to the possibility reconnection, the romance between Daniel and Kumiko. It was hinting at it all throughout the episode. Those special little moments as they're talking with each other, having tea, at while doing so. And we all know what happened in Okinawa when they were sharing tea the first time they were together, and it resulted in a kiss. That special ceremonial tea that Kumiko prepared for him, and then mentioning to Daniel that that he was the only guy that fought to the death for her, and that right there set off some red alerts for when it comes to uh, marriage, his own marriage, possibly in jeopardy because a woman like that, holding on to that fact and not getting not being married herself, um, is certainly a red flag right there. But and then this continues on her them back at her place where a candle is lit, and and then sharing love letters, which another red flag, as in an intimate type setting where she shares the love letters of Mr. Miyagi to Daniel, and I gotta admit, I freely admit that I was a little emotional when Kumiko shared what Mr. Miyagi wrote in one of those letters pertaining to Daniel, and it got brought him to tears, and I know it brought all of us emotional or little tears. And then by the end of this episode, there was hinting at a possible relationship where they noticed the touching of the hands, that awkward touching of the hands, and fortunately, this would be all averted by the appearance of one man, Chosen, and the giddy laugh that I expressed when I saw Chosen. I should have had that recorded. I should have recorded that when I saw Chosen appear, and I just couldn't stop giddy laughing because of the combination of um, Chosen appearing, Daniel with that look of surprise, shocked surprise, and me just laughing uncontrollably, giddy laughing because we see Chosen, the man who nearly killed or was involved in the fight to the death with Daniel, together again with Kamiko sitting right to his left, and that's how it ended with with all three of them, or actually just two of them, or just basically Daniel in complete shock, like I mentioned before, and so were we. So, as the audience for Cobra Kai at the end of episode 4. Now, the key point to episode 5, Miyagi-Do, is what I believe is closure. Closure between uh, between Chosen and Daniel, as what starts off with the previous episode, where the arrival of Chosen and the shock surprise in Daniel's face, and when Chosen approaches Daniel, he's ready. Daniel's fists were clenched and ready to throw down once again. But instead, what Chosen ends up doing is bowing to him, and from then on in, we see a much calmer, much Zen-like Chosen. Ever since, and we learned that ever since then, being defeated at that festival, he his uncle Sato would talk to him and let go of the anger that he felt when it comes to his experiences, his encounter with Daniel, because there was so much anger that was pent up because he was considered a failure in his uncle's eyes because uh, he would not go out there to save the little girl during that typhoon, uh, and um, and because of that, he ran away like a coward. And now, 30 years later, we see Chosen a much happier man, as he brings Daniel to the to his dojo. And what Daniel would find out is that, according to Chosen, Mr. Miyagi did not teach all of his secrets or share all of his secrets when it comes to the techniques that he taught to Daniel. And he would see that scroll with a crane kick, but he would also pick up a scroll, but that would lead to Chosen taking it from his hands, and that would and from there it goes to them training in order to prove by Daniel to Chosen that he is willing to do anything it takes to prove to him that he is rightfully he is rightful to own that, or at least get that scroll, because according to Daniel, they are karate cousins after all. And after much brutality on Chosen's part, going so far as to strike a side down and right next to Daniel's head, as you saw in the promo, they end up sparring outside in the woods, in a makeshift circular um, uh, platform, and Chosen ends up doing a move that 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 numbs um, uh, Daniel's arms, both of them, and then his legs, uh, and it gets to that point where we know what's coming. He wants retribution for that moment in that death fight back 30 years ago. But what happens is hilarity ensues as he honks Daniel back, when he rears back and goes. He doesn't say it what he says to him back, but he does do the strike and the honk, which I busted out laughing when he did that. And then we see Chosen laugh as well. So that's pretty much what I take out of that. And then, but before I end this, my key point to episode 5, we see that after his meeting, his training with Chosen, he meets back up with Kumiko, and she's not alone, because who do we see there with her? A much older Yuna, the girl who actually that Daniel actually saved, all grown up, and I was surprised. I even went like, "Whoa!" And I was like, that's her, and just out of ironically, just out of coincidence, she's the she's international sales and the senior vice president for Doyona. So a stroke of luck, as Kumiko put it, you put good in the put. I think I'm paraphrasing here. You put good out into the world, and the world gives back to you, and thus um, that's how Daniel's business is saved, um, thanks to basically saving the woman who is the senior vice president of Diona when it comes to international sales. That's what you get for being a good person and just going out there and saving someone who will eventually save your business. So that's episode 5, right? Five right there. Episode 6, what I got out of it overall, the main theme for the episode, what I think is just conflict, with every character dealing with it. Johnny with Allie, and then Hawk and Tori with what they're going through. They're either turning to the dark side or turning back to the light. That uh, Kreese's conflict as he's in Vietnam with his team and trying to eliminate the enemy, but his hesitance to basically destroy the enemy's camp resulted in the getting captured, and then his teammate getting getting killed because of it, and that messed him up big time. PTSD and trauma, and that's how he became who he is, along with his demented his crazy demented um, commander leading the team, and there's a conflict when it comes to the relationship between Miguel and Johnny as he tries to help him um, stand, but and he eventually does because he just pushes him so much that that Miguel's anger causes him to not think and just act on emotion, where he finds himself standing, but he falls down a few seconds later. But that's progress right there. Conflict literally and conflict emotionally, mentally, and physically. All that conflict right there. And by the end of this episode, you have conflict between the Russos and Kreese, who wages war or declares war on them uh, because he tried to they tried to have the landlord throw him out, but he 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 causes the landlord uh, to think otherwise by physical means, and to dispel reality on how a landlord can actually rethink his decision, and not kick a tenant out is in this when it comes to this episode a little far fetched, but it's TV. Anyways, like I said, he wages war by sticking snakes in a car, and it's all out war now between Cobra Kai. I mean uh, John Kreese and the LaRussos, and on Johnny him Johnny himself. So episode 7, Obstaculus. The key point here is that it's basically the reconnecting between father and daughter, Sam and Daniel, and as we learned in earlier episode 4, I believe, during when Daniel was off in Okinawa, that Sam um, just froze and during the fight with Cobra Kai, and that ended up with Dimitri's arm being broken, and that traumatized her even more, to the result that she just cried in front of her mom, and that this results in them having a heart to heart. Daniel eventually finding out what's going on with her, and it would lead to Daniel, as a father would do, teach her um, about his own past when it comes to how uh, him falling down and having the courage to get back up, and he brings her to his old stomping grounds in Karate Kid 3, where Mike Barnes just basically decimates him with verbally, and causing Daniel to basically doubt, put fear in himself, because how uh, great of opponent Mike Barnes is considered, and I'm hoping Mike Barnes shows up in either season 4, season 5, or season 6, because him being even mentioned, there is a possibility of him showing up. And I've watched on YouTube, I think couple of weeks ago, where Mike Barnes, or the actor who plays Mike Barnes, actually talks about wanting to be a part of Cobra Kai, which would be awesome to see him showing up to be either a to be at the side of John Kreese, or be an ally for Daniel and Johnny. Who knows at this point? It's going to be exciting to see if that news comes out that Mike Barnes will be a part of Cobra Kai, for Netflix. And getting back to the situation between uh, father and daughter, he shares with her that what Mr. Miyagi said to her about fear not. I'm just paraphrasing. Fear not letting fear um, take hold, and it's because of those words that he gets back up, and as we now know uh, in Karate Kid 3, he uses that fear to his advantage and overcomes it and defeats Mike Barnes. Uh, yeah, and in a way, it helps Sam overcome her PTSD, her trauma. Uh, Share and beforehand at the lake when they were fishing, she shares her emotional fears with her father and how she feels alone in all this. And it's kind of a bonding experience between the both of them, and how in a way, and I believe Daniel felt alone as he was lying on the mat, ready to give up because of the overwhelming circumstances put there by not only Terry Silver, John Kreese, and Mike Barnes. Which, when I mentioned Terry Silver, there is a possibility that he could show up as well, and I'll hold off on that on until episode 10. Yeah, and that's probably the key point for episode 7. That reconnection with mentally, emotionally, personally between father and daughter, because there was that little bit of contention between father and daughter because she was suffering emotional trauma, mental trauma as well, as he was off doing his thing in Okinawa for 2 episodes. But yeah, that's what I took out of it for the key point for episode 7. Yeah. Episode 8, The Good, the Bad, the Badass. It's basically a literal, or more importantly, more to be exact, a figurative fight more than a literal fight, as they're fighting for the right to be in the tournament, to have the tournament, the All Valley tournament, uh, for those involved that don't want it to be canceled by the council because of the bad press that has begun because of the fight that happened at the school. Now, it's in this meeting that Chris, Daniel, and Johnny attend, and each three give a speech. Though and unfortunately, it doesn't go anywhere. Um, Knowing that Chris wants it to happen because he wants to get revenge, his own just way in spiteful way of justice, just to get his comeuppance, and and Johnny and Daniel want it because they want to end Kreese because of what they've done to not only him but his students, and it would end up uh, uh, that Miguel and Sam would be the voices of reason, as they want their voices heard along with those that are involved, the kids that are involved with the All Valley tournament, and thus Miguel giving an impassioned speech um, where uh, him and Sam talk about bullying, how it affects everyone, not just kids but adults as well. And it comes to a point where Sam shares the a very impactful saying, a message that resonates not just with the council but with everybody else in the room. You could tell if you notice everybody in the room just perk up a little bit and just focus more on what Sam said, which is scars you can't see are the ones that hurt you the most. That's true. It's the scars you can't see from the effects of bullying or of the traumatic experiences that run deep. That even though there aren't scars physically, you can't see them. There are scars that run very deep emotionally and mentally that'll affect them, and for years, for those that have suffered when it comes to physical abuse or mental abuse or any kind of abuse whatsoever that stick with you from a child all the way to adulthood, and and it's a good way to segue into like get if those suffering from mental health, seek help. Don't be afraid to talk about it, because when you do talk about it, it's a sweet relief, because you're holding it inside, and by holding it inside, it just makes you're suffering internally. It's a torturous situation indeed for anyone who's holding in their pain, um, and yeah, and and yeah, that's the key point in all this: fighting for what you believe in, fighting in every sense of the word. Uh, and that's, yeah, fighting to live, fighting to stay sane, whatever the case may be. The key point, like I said before, is the fight to save what you believe in, or fight to stay healthy, mentally, emotionally, and physically as well. So, yeah, there you go. Now, episode 9, Feel the Night. The key point in all of this is we all know it's Allie and Johnny's date, um, bringing back old memories beforehand, as um, Allie meets up with Johnny at a restaurant, and he tries to impress her by ordering something that he heard from another table, and because of that, uh, when he does order, Allie gives a look. And by the way, Elizabeth Shue looks great. Hasn't aged a bit, in my opinion. And getting back to it, the look on her face when he orders that froofy food, um, and after she orders a cheeseburger, um, Johnny immediately changes his order into something that he would actually order, and as their date progresses, lunch date, it he becomes real with her and shares his life story of how he got a girl pregnant, and they had Robbie, and how he's basically screwed up as he is, and any relationship he's had since then, after his relationship with Allie got screwed up, and then after being real with her, Allie becomes real with him, and shares that even though she has a great life, doctor, kids, she is divorced, and that hints at a possibility of them coming together in a relationship. But in all honesty, I don't think it is Elizabeth Shue is going to be part of the cast anytime soon when it comes to Cobra Kai. Um, Although she is going to be, she's best suited for just like becoming our recurring character that comes in from time to time, and for episode 5, 6, 4, 5, and 6, which is what Ralph Macchio said is planned for. But getting back to why I believe Elizabeth Shue is not going to be becoming a, a permanent cast member. I think she wants major money to be on that on the cast of Cobra Kai, but um, I think she's just best suited for a recurring character that comes in from time to time, and that's my thought on that. And then that goes from the date, their lunch date, to the actual date in that park, reminiscent of old times, and they share um, uh, playing games, air hockey, and whatnot, uh, and then it gets to a point where there's like that closeness sitting on that bench, and you could tell the tension amongst them, that Johnny really wants, or both of them want to really kiss each other, and they're hinting at it, but it never comes to fruition. Especially in episode 10, where um, they they the producers and the writers really want, and I know the fans wanted it, because it would bring closure to their character, and bring happiness to Johnny, but they don't want to ruin what they have, what's going to happen with Johnny and Miguel's mom, who, um, going off a tangent now, they do. Ali knows about Miguel's mom, and even and the way Johnny talks about her, Allie knows that he likes her, and that would bring closure to that relationship, not only for not only for both not only for her, but for Johnny and Daniel, as all the relationships are brought to come to an end, and a nice sense of closure for all three of them as they come together. But yeah, the date between Johnny and Allie is my key point in all this for episode 9, and pretty much it went off without a hitch. Even though they don't get together in the end, at the end of the season, it just plays off into that he's meant to be more with Miguel's mom because of how he's not just a teacher or sensei to Miguel. He's more like a son to him. But even though he does already has a son, which is already there's a rocky road there as as John Kreese's influence is on him. So that will come to culminate and come to a head in episode 10. So yeah, that's my key point for episode 9. Episode 10, December 19th. The key point I took from that entire episode, the season finale, the fight at the LaRusso house. Uh, First off, let me focus on Hawk. All throughout the season, from episode 1 and 9, he's been, well, actually 2 to 9, he's been conflicted on where his allegiances lie, how he's trying to prove himself to John Kreese, but every time he tries to do so, someone else steps up, whether it be the wrestler, the Asian wrestler, or whether it be Robbie, who apparently has been relegated to his number one student. And then even though um, Hawk feels he's the number one guy in Cobra Kai, but how he goes about making this realization that that his conflicts are no the conflict within him has just reached this breaking point is when he sees his friend, his former friend, but friend nonetheless, Dimitri, possibly getting his arm broken again by two individuals. And upon seeing that, this enrages him because as he was standing there, he finally realizes the chaos that's ensuing all around him, and that what Johnny said to him is breaking through his thick skull, and how if he goes down the path of what John Kreese teaches him, his life will go in the shitter. So yeah, and this results in him heading towards those two individuals, two guys, and takes them out in order to save his best friend, Dimitri. And this would result in them doing a Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker, Rush Hour 2 fight scene, and then them two reconnecting back would be an awesome sight to see. And then moving from there to um, Miguel in the fight with the Asian wrestler. I forget his name, but and all through through Miguel's ordeal is that he can't do any moves that when it results to kicking. But seeing his friends getting hurt results in him harnessing all that anger, all that strength, all that resolve, and kicking the the wrestler's ass. So yeah, it was a bit vindication for um, for Miguel as he struggled to reconcile that he may thinking that he may not have what it takes anymore, but he definitely has what it takes as he forces himself. His determination to get himself back to the way he used to be, and it took him at least 9 episodes, but he finally got there. And then finally we get Tori and Sam as they face off, but it ends up being at the start of it. Let me back up for a second. She kicks her way in, and from the very start, uh, makes her presence known in that alpha female sort of way, and let's say that, and I'm thinking that she is considered the alpha male leader of the group, even though Hawk considers himself the leader of the Cobra Kai, but not anymore. Now she is the leader of the group, of the Cobra Kai group, and all and when it comes to the face off of Sam and Tori, it was basically a one-sided fight as Sam just hightails it out of there because her sent trauma and PTSD suddenly takes over, and she touches her chest, her heart, because she's having a panic attack, I believe, and just hightails it out there to the family dojo where she just suddenly stands there as with Tori coming in from walking in from behind and just ready to beat the crap out of her, and this would come to the point where she picks up some nunchucks sitting on a shelf and is determined to beat the crap out of her even some more. You know, even trying to kill her possibly, and that psychopathic mentality that Kreese taught her, and at this point she's gone full dark side already. Why not go even further to the point of killing someone, or maybe maiming someone, but killing nonetheless? And as they try to fight, as they fight, it looks like just a one-sided fight. It results in the frame picture of Mr. Miyagi being broken and shattered the glass. And when Tori looks down and then closes her eyes briefly in that moment, reflects back on the conversation she has with Father in the All Valley gym about how he felt and was taunted and demoralized and verbally demoralized by Mike Barnes. She ends up just summoning up all that strength, that inner strength to just get that power back that was taken from her by Tori herself, from that fight in the school fight that happened in season 1. And once that she gains that power back, she fights back, and it's not a great fight, in my honest opinion, because it was sloppy on Sam's part. For most parts, it was sloppy on both their parts, but in any case, Tori or Sam, or yeah, Sam ends up winning in a way, but yeah, it was a stalemate in either way. And when as the Miguel, Hawk come in order to try to reason with Tori, but she's full on dark side as Kreese's influence basically has overtaken her. So Kreese has another Padawan or Sith Padawan I'm a Padawan Sith trainee to be at his side along with Robbie, who is teetering on becoming another dark side apprentice for Kreese. And then it culminates into a fight between Kreese and Johnny first, and then Daniel, and then Kreese, for what they did, for what Kreese did in sicking his students on the kids, on Miguel, Sam, and the rest of the kids, his students, Johnny's and Daniels, and this would end up having Kreese give an enticing offer to both Johnny and Daniel, to the point where he suggests that they all settle. They settle their differences in the All Valley tournament, and if both of them win, Cobra Kai is gone for good, and it's an enticing offer that would lead both Cobra Kai, not Cobra Kai, but um, Eagle Fang and Miyagi Do to merge together. But before that ever happens, John Kreese calls in some help, and we presumably believe that help comes in the form of Terry Silver because judging from what his flashback that he had when he purposely killed off his commanding officer in that snake pit in a Lion King sort of way, it is presumably that the man that said that anytime he needs any help, he'll come no matter what, no questions asked, is Terry Silver, because there was a hint in Karate Kid Part Three where Terry Silver does reference something that happened long ago with between the two of them that he says that he shared concerning a bond that will never be broken between the two of them. And that would it's going to be interesting to see in season 4 where will it lead up to the tournament or it's the tournament itself or whatever the case may be. But I'm thinking it's leading up to the tournament where things will happen and maybe Mike Barnes will show up. Who knows? And yeah, the emergence, the merging, if you will, like be exact, of Cobra Kai, not Cobra Kai, the emergence of Miyagi Do and the Eagle Fang, and the way they introduced um, uh, introduced in the air tonight as a perfect way for the merging of the two schools, uh, Miyagi Do and Eagle Fang as Daniel walks out for his, with to see his students as and then Johnny's Eagle Fang students come out and to stand side by side with friends among friends, side by side, friends with friends, friends with former friends, and you know what I mean. Friends reuniting is what I'm trying to get at, and then the perfect um, uh, introduction for Johnny is the drum beats in the song, and that was perfect in every way, shape, or form. And that it ends with them just basically about to do practice, and when it comes to preparing for uh, the Cobra Kai because for season 4, and all of us can't wait for it. It's going to be a sight to see because we know that according to um, Ralph Macchio, there's been at least 6 seasons under the belt, and hopefully Hilary Swank will may show up because in the next Karate Kid, she is actually the last student that that. Uh, that Mr. Miyagi taught. So hopefully, she'll come in to spark some wisdom, much needed wisdom when Daniel and Johnny need it the most in times of peril. Maybe in season 4, maybe season 5, or maybe season 6. But we hope that Hilary Swank shows up, and maybe her on screen husband too as well, and maybe the monks as well. Although they are pretty, they are probably passed away by now, but who knows? They're monks. They live long, and especially Tibetan monks, you don't know how long, how old they are, and yeah, good, awesome season 10, awesome season 3 all around. I mean, of all 10 episodes of Cobra Kai. And there you have it, guys. Girl Gang, peeps, Padawans, my thoughts, my insights, my key points when it comes to all 10 episodes of season 3 of Cobra Kai. And like I mentioned before, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and become a member of the Guru Gang Peeps Padawans of the Inner Sanctum. Also, hit that notification button, bell, and be alerted to any of the videos I'll be posting anytime soon on the channel itself, as well as hit like. And if you like any of my content, including this one, when it comes to sharing my thoughts, insights, whatever the case may be, on Cobra Kai Season 3. And with that said, whenever you watch this video, hope you have an awesome day or night or week, and may the force be with you guys. Later. Tip my hat to you. Bye.